Shalom Aleichem, everyone. I hope everyone is enjoying Pesach. We're here in Chol Hamoed Pesach. I hope you're enjoying. I hope you're enjoying the time with family. I hope the Seders were amazing. And just wanted to share a very short idea relating to Kriyas Yamsuf and relating to the days that we find ourselves in. I must tell you, I am still on the high of my trip to Poland. I'm still feeling very upbeat, very inspired, certainly a tremendous chizuk. And I just read an unbelievable book. Rav Sina Adler published a book called La'olam Odeka, which is his story in Auschwitz, his story in a concentration camp in the Czech Republic where he was for a while, to Theresienstadt, and his emergence from Auschwitz to Mauthausen, and then, of course, to Eretz Yisrael. Unbelievably inspiring, and I get a tremendous amount of chizuk from him and from the books and the stories that I've heard. Again, I think there's a lot to learn, and the Mirz Hashem will try and tie in an idea here as well. A thought about Shvi'y Shel Pesach. Shvi'y Shel Pesach, we celebrate Kriyas Yamsuf. That is the anniversary of Kriyas Yamsuf, and that is what we celebrate on Shvi'y Shel Pesach. And the question that the Gemara in Maseches Erech in Daf Yud asks is, why is it that we do not say Halal Shalom every single day of Pesach? After all, we say Halal Shalom every single day of Sukkot. We say Halal Shalom every single day of Chanukah. Why is it that we don't say a Halal Shalom every single day of Chag HaPesach? So the truth is, before we explain why, what the Gemara says, what's the mechayev of a Halal Shalom? So the Gemara has two separate and distinct mechayevim. One mechayev of Halal Shalom is like you find by Sukkot. It's a Yom Tov, a day of Moed, with an Isser Malacha. Moed plus Isser Malacha generates a Chiyuv Halal. So, for example, Rosh Chodesh is a Moed, but is not an Isser Malacha, and therefore no Halal. Shabbos is a Yom Tov, is an Isser Malacha, but no Moed. Yontif, Sukkot has both qualities. Shavuos has both qualities. It's a Yom Tov with an Isser Malacha that generates a Chiyuv Halal Shalom. Chanukah, on the other hand, is not a Yom Tov. It doesn't have an Isser Malacha, yet we say Halal Shalom. That's a different reason. That is because it's a Yom Shenaseh Bones. A Yom Shenaseh Bones generates a Chiyuv of Halal even without being a Yom Tov. So you have two separate mechayvim. One mechayv is Yom Tov plus Isser Malacha. Sukkot is the model, Shavuos is the model, and then you have a Yom Shenaseh Bones. So the Gemara wants to know, why is Pesach, why is there no Halal Shalom? And the Gemara tells Maseches Erchin that the difference between Pesach and Sukkot is that when it comes to Sukkot, every single day we bring a separate korban. Chalukin be korbanosayim. The first day there are 13 parim brought, the second day 12, the third day 11. Every single day is differentiated from the day beforehand, and the differentiation in karbanos establishes every single day as a new yontif. In fact, I have suggested in other shiurim that when it comes to Sukkot is not one 8-day chag, it's rather 8 one-day chagim as expressed by a new mechayv of karban, which sets up a new yontif, which sets up a new mechayv of halal. When it comes to Pesach, on the other hand, Pesach every single day is the same karban. When we daven Musaf and on Pesach, every day is the same exact karban. So therefore we're going to say Halal Shalom on day 1, but thereafter there's no reason to say another Halal Shalom, because been there, done that. It's the same exact yontif. We express the Halal Vodah on day 1, and we don't have to express it once again. However, the Medrash, a later Medrash, it's called the Medrash Harninug, suggests a different reason why we don't say Halal Shalom on every single day of Pesach. And perhaps that's a function of the second Mechayv of Halal. Because on the 7th day of Pesach, even if it's the same exact Yom Tov, it's the same Yontif, same karban every single day, but there's a new Mechayv of Halal. What's the new Mechayv of Halal on the 7th day of Pesach? It's a Yom Shenaseh Bones. The Nes of Kriyas Yamsuf, the dramatic Nes of Kriyas Yamsuf, happens on the 7th day of Pesach, and perhaps that generates a new Mechayev of of Hal v'Hodah, not b'Toras Yontif, but b'Toras Yom Shenaseh Bones, just like Chanukah, and therefore say a Hal Shalom. And the Medrash famously answers that we can't say Hallel. We can't say Hallel on such a day. The Malachim wanted to know why not say Hallel, and the answer is because Bonai Tovim Bayam Va'atem Omrim Shira. How can you possibly commemorate the Hallel of the Nes of Kriyas Yamsuf in Hallel, when that is a day that has an element of destruction, that the Mitzrim, who were the persecutors of the Jews, but nevertheless, they're Tzelem Elokim, and they were destroyed, they perished, so that warrants a muting of our Hal v'Hodah, and therefore, because of that, we do not say a Hal Shalom on the 7th day of Pesach. Striking Medrash. Bonai Tovim Bayam. The Mitzrim persecuted us for 210 years, and nevertheless, when they are destroyed, they perish, we don't say Hala. Bonai Tovim Bayam Va'atem Omrim Shira. But that begs the question, because didn't we say Shira al Hayam? Of course we did. Oz Yashir Moshe, Ze Keli Ve'anveyu. Perhaps the most dramatic Shira, the most dramatic Hal v'Hodah that we have is the Shira Hayam. So why is it there that the reason of Bonai Tovim Bayam V'atem Shira doesn't apply? We don't say Hallel because the Mitzrim perished. But perhaps the most dramatic expression of Hallel v'Hodah, of Shira LaHashem, Shira LaHashem, Ki Gamal Alai, that is expressed on the Shira Hayam. So how could they go ahead and do so? After all, Bonai Tovim Bayam. So I think the answer is very, very clear. And it's the answer for a number of different questions as well. And that is that when it comes to Shira Hayam, Klal Yisrael then and there, Oz Yashir Moshe, that was not a Shira b'Toras Kriyas Hallel. That's not Kriyas Hallel. That was a spontaneous expression of crying out in joy, in Hal v'Hodah, to the Ribono Shalom. And that is not going to be muted by the fact that the Mitzrim are dying. A spontaneous expression of Shira LaHashem will never get muted by Bonai Tovim Bayam. Yes, to now commemorate that 1,000 years later, 2,000 years later, with a formal mitzvah of Kriyas Hallel, so that we don't do Bonai Tovim Bayam, but a spontaneous expression of Shira LaHashem, so that Bonai Tovim Bayam is not going to mitigate. And this idea answers another question, because at the Leil HaSeder, we say Hallel. We say Hallel in the Seder. And we say Hallel in many many communities. We'll say Hallel in Shul Friday and at the Leil HaSeder, a full Hallel, big bracha. The Hasidim do so, the Sfardim do so. How can we possibly say Hallel at the Leil HaSeder according to this Medrash? After all, that's exactly when Makas Bechoros happened. Hashem passed over the Jewish homes and smote the Mitzri Bechor. Every single Mitzri house suffered a tremendous, tremendous loss. So why don't we say, Bonai Tovim Bayam Va'atem Omrim Shira? How could you possibly say Hallel when the Mitzri Bechor was dying in every single home? How can we do that, according to this Medrash? But the answer is the very same answer, is that the Hallel, as Rav Haigon writes, as many Rishonim write, Maseches Pesachim, the Hallel of the Leil HaSeder is a Hallel not of Kriyas Hallel, but it's a Hallel of a spontaneous expression of Shira. When it's a spontaneous expression of Shira, not just commemorating what happened 2,000, 3,000 years ago, but it's Ki'ilu, I am taken out Ata Mi Mitzrayim. I have to see myself as if I came out right now. This is not a historic statement of Kriyas Hallel, but it is a very current, contemporary, spontaneous expression of Shira. And if that's what it is, because after all, we normally do not say Hallel at night, We don't normally say Hallel sitting down. This Hallel is a very, very different Hallel. Noshim are Pturos in Hallel, but not in this one. Very different kind of Hallel. Why? Because it's a spontaneous expression of Shira, and therefore even though the mitzvim are suffering, that's not going to stop us from expressing Hallel. There's a beautiful, beautiful medrash, striking medrash, that is quoted in Parshas Beshalach. The Meshech Chachma quoted at the end of a very famous piece that I like to say over a lot, that when Bnei Yisrael is crossing the Yam Suf, the Satan has a taina on Hashem. I don't understand, says the Satan. You're saving the Jews and you're drowning the Mitzvah. But look at these people. Halalu ov the Avodah Zarah, v'halalu ov the Avodah Zarah. The Jews were meant to Shari Tumah. And the Mitzvah, of course, were Rishayim. But the Jews were also not in a great place. Had they stayed in Mitzrayim 1 second longer, they would have fallen to the 50th level of Tumah, and they could have never gotten out. So why are you saving the Jews and destroying the Mitzvah? That was the question that the Satan, the taina that the Satan had on Hashem. Hashem answers, Shoite sheba'olam. Satan, you're a fool. You don't get it. The Mitzrim were mem teshar tumah, the Jews were mem teshar tumah, but there's a fundamental difference. The Mitzrim were on a low level, mitoch ashirus, mitoch power. They were kings of the universe. They were the superpower. They were the strongest people in the world. And they did not recognize the Ribbon Shalom. The Jews were persecuted. The Jews were beaten down. 210 years of Avdus. So they too might have fallen. But they were guilty with an excuse. When life is good, when things are going well, when we have ashirus, when we have comforts, when we're on top of the world, so then we don't have excuses. Then we have to recognize Hashem. When things are going rough, when things are bad, when we're avadim hayinu, we're in a tough place. So then if we can persevere, unbelievable. But then at least we have an excuse. As I mentioned at the outset, I'm just coming off a trip to Poland. I just finished reading Rav Sinai Adler's Sefer La'olam Odeka and hearing some of these unbelievable stories of Knesset Yisrael, Klal Yisrael in the Shoah, how so many people persevered, how so many people pushed themselves to light a Hanukkah licht, to eat a piece of matzah, to say a Birchas Hamazon even though what they were eating was not worthy of human consumption. And then of course, yes, certain people couldn't fulfill mitzvahs, couldn't perform, maybe even wanted to know, Hashem, where are you? And then we find ourselves 70 years later. We find ourselves with our own Medinat Yisrael. We find ourselves, most of us live in tremendous comfort, tremendous state of goodness. We have money, we have food on our tables, we have jobs, we have a world where there's nothing denied of us. Nothing in Gashmius is denied of us whatsoever. And we have these tests. We have the test of the Holocaust, the Shoah 70 years ago, and now we have a different test. A test of Ashirus, a test where everything's there on the table for us. Everything is relatively easy. And that medrash, it's a very harrowing medrash. The medrash that says, where the Satan says, why are you saving the Jews and allowing the Mitzvah to perish? They're both on 49th level of Tumah. And Hashem gives a very, very critical answer. Is that the Jews are guilty with an excuse. But when life is good, when things are going well, when you have that real sense of cherus, so then you don't have an excuse. Then you have to recognize where it's all coming from, the goodness of Hashem, how far we've come in these 70 years, the nisim v'niflaos that are all around us. There are no excuses. And on the one hand, that's very scary, because we can't say, as the Mitzvah couldn't say, we have an excuse. We don't have excuses. On the other hand, it creates in us a sense, an onus, a responsibility to look around, See how good things are. See how relatively easy they are. And then give Hal v'hodah. Thank Hashem. Perhaps even a spontaneous thank you, Hashem, for all the good that you've done. For your family, for your spouse, for your children, for your chaverim, for the freedoms that you have, for the ease of worship, for the ahava that you have, for the simcha that you have. And be'ez Hashem, we'll take the lessons of Chag HaPesach, build on those lessons, and Amir Hashem, move us towards the period of Sfiras Omer, that Chol HaMoed period of Sfiras Omer, to a true sense of Kabbalas HaTorah at Chag HaShavuos. A good yontif to all.